Hello, everybody, and welcome to Movie.Cast, the podcast where we talk all about films. Mike with you, along with my co-hosts, Costa and Amber.
Hi.
You almost sound like you forgot our names.
No,
like,
I was giving you a second. I didn't know if you were gonna like say hi or something before I moved on to Amber.
What our names
I
were.
think everything just got lost in long-term memory,
Yeah,
like
long-term
just
memory.
into the abyss.
Who are you? I
All
don't know. Anyway, so we just all saw Inside Out.
In case that wasn't obvious.
Yeah, as you can tell from our background. But so we want to talk about it. So basically what we do when we review a movie, we try to give spoiler-free reviews first. We do like a quick round table where we each tell you whether or not you should go see it, whether or not it's worth your
Go
money.
see it.
Costa, don't give it away yet. Jeez. Give it a few seconds, will ya? But so we will try to be spoiler-free for our first round while we tell you whether or not to go see it. And when we do venture into spoiler territory, you're going to hear our good old German friend, Mr. Wilhelm, is going to scream with his last dying breath. And then we have entered spoiler territory. Continue watching at your own risk beyond that point. Now, I normally would pass it off to one of you guys.
Why don't you start?
Well, why don't I start?
Go ahead.
Because finally this year, ever since we started this podcast, we have a movie I love.
We're like 5 main episodes in, right? Yeah, and you finally
Yes,
got your-
yeah, exactly. So about 5 weeks into it, and finally we have a movie I actually really loved. Pixar, once again, continually outdoes themselves every year, well, for the most part, with a few exceptions, but this year they really hit it out of the ballpark with Inside Out. It was everything I wanted from a Pixar film. It was adorable. It was funny, really funny. It was heartfelt, and it just was a very entertaining movie experience for me. So I think it hit every check mark of what I expect from a Pixar movie. I checked it all off. But what I want to mention specifically, it was a funny movie, obviously. But what I thought was interesting, it had a really good pace of its humor.
Yeah.
You know, it was a bit like the humor kept up almost the whole time. You know, I mean, not every Pixar film is like this fast paced when it comes to its humor, I guess. So I don't know. I love it. I say go see it. My review is pretty short. Go see it. But my spoiler-free part of the review is pretty short. Go see it. It's fantastic. It's like I have these 3 pillars of Pixar films that are like the top pillars for me, and that's WALL-E, Up, and Toy Story 3. And I know that this was made, I think Pete Docter was the director, and I think he was also the director for Up. So no wonder it was so heartfelt, because Up made you leave the theater crying.
Well, you first cry in the first like 5-10 minutes. Of
Right.
the
Well,
movie
but then
itself.
also at the end too. You know, like you were crying within 5 minutes, and then you were crying leaving the theater.
Yeah.
And this does hit me at some point, like later on in the film. We'll discuss that more in the spoiler-filled section. But I say go see it. It's absolutely 100% worth your money. Go out to see it. Have fun watching it. It's a very, very entertaining, enjoyable film.
Yeah.
I can talk today. So anyway, let's go to Amber. Let's have your review.
You totally
I
like
say
faked
go
me
see
out
it.
right there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I try to keep it
No,
interesting on this show. All right. I try to keep you on your toes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
Okay, now Costa, give us your review. No.
All right.
See?
The anger in my head is like, what?
What?
I like the movie. I wouldn't say this is my favorite Pixar movie. I'm still, I was like 10 when Toy Story came out, so like I still put Toy Story, the first Toy Story. I know the other 2 movies are good, but you can't have them without the first one, and even Finding Nemo. But I still enjoyed the movie. Maybe it's a different perspective because when I'm watching it, like I was watching it with a bunch of guys, and then me as a girl, I was like, okay, I remember this growing up, because it really is. I was like, it's called Inside Out, but again, it could be called Puberty, the movie, because the main character girl, I think Ridley, Is that what her name?
Riley.
Riley. Sorry.
Riley.
Riley. You know, her emotions are going up and down.
She's not the villain from Metroid
No.
Prime.
No. Riley. Just
Yeah.
emotions going up and down.
Yeah.
Her parents like, "Are you okay? What's going on? I don't know what's happened." I was like, "It's called puberty." She's like 11 or 12. This is what happens to every girl. And I was like, and all the other the other, not the kids, but like you could see like the mothers and this going like, "Yep. Yeah, I remember this." Or if you even have I don't know how else to explain this. I had another feeling of just like middle school.
Yeah. I think even though you're saying it's like from a girl's perspective, but we kind of all like.
Yeah, well,
maybe
I mean,
not to
there
the same degree.
ends
We
up
obviously
being,
don't have the female perspective.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a boy perspective, which I was
Right.
laughing my ass off with
Yep.
too.
Right.
But I did like it. I liked all the different emotions and things like that. I'm a big Amy Poehler fan, so it's
Yeah.
just like yes. And Amy Poehler, even though she's a great comedian, like she really can do good dramatic acting when need be. And voice talent wise, she can do all that as well. So she was my favorite character. I did like the imaginary character.
Oh, absolutely.
What was his name?
Bing Bong?
Bing Bong,
Bing
who's
Bing
made
Bong.
out of like cotton candy and
Yeah.
half dolphin and
Elephant. Yeah.
And cried.
and cat, and he cried
his tears
candy.
were candy.
His tears were candy. That was awesome, and there was some really great, comedic moments in there that I laughed at. As for the movie, I mean, I think anybody with kids and stuff will go and like it. Personally, for me, I liked it, but I don't know if maybe it's just like if I didn't go and see this in the theater, I would have been fine just seeing it on DVD. I don't know why. For me, I feel like just like it was funny, but then for some parts of it, it got a little like I was like, okay, let's go.
I guess like for me, I'm a mix of like the hopeless romantic, and sometimes I do fall for like the sappy stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
the heartfelt emotion, the emotional parts of the movie got me. I guess like so.
Oh, no, I mean,
and
they
like
still
same
got-
thing with like Up. So like
Yeah,
you
they
know.
still got me too, and I mean, I did like Up and Wall-E and stuff like that, but to me, they're not my favorite movies of Pixar like they
Okay.
are, and maybe it's just because I'm old enough that I remember when Pixar first came about, that
Sure.
those other movies are more mean something more to me than the new ones.
Okay.
What they also, I mean, still like if you had to ask me on a Disney perspective too, and let's just put it as Pixar and Disney and all their movies they put out, I still find the early 90s like classic movies still better than all of them, even like Frozen, all that stuff. I still think
absolutely.
they're the best. But I liked it. I think kids will like it. I like the point where kids will like it and adults will like it too, and that as kids grow up and rewatch that movie, it's going to mean something totally different to them. They're going to see it totally different. And it's not like as I've grown older, I missed a few jokes here and there that I didn't get as a kid. I mean, it's you have to be a grown up to get the other point of it. So there's two sides to that to this movie, which I think will hold strong later down the line. It might mean more to kids too later, and adults will like it too because they'll get the overall arc of it.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because like the part that we'll talk about later and during the spoiler part near the end, like I have a feeling like for kids who maybe like are in like that range where like how like we were probably we were like 15 I think or somewhere around that age when Toy Story first came out in 95. When did
You
the
were
first...
15 when Toy
No,
Story
no,
came
no,
out?
no, no,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no.
I was 10.
No,
Like,
wait a minute.
I think it was like
5
95,
then.
96.
Okay, 5.
Yeah.
Right,
6
sorry,
years old.
my bad. But I'm
Yeah.
saying like kids who then when did Toy Story 2 come out?
In 1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Okay, so kids who are around like that same age, like the 9-year-old
I literally
range,
grew up
like
with
this
the
might have like
Toy Story.
and Toy
like the
Story.
later
Yeah.
part of this movie might have that same effect as Jesse's
Yes.
song from Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
Like when you we'll explain
Andy.
it more later.
Andy, the kid Andy who owns the toys. Like I was this, like me and everybody else in my generation who witnessed Toy Story. I saw Toy Story in the movies because it was such an experience. I was the same age as Andy, and then when they made the second one, it was, you know, me and other people were the same age. So like the Toy Story means a lot more to people because not only did they make 3 movies, but you see that character. They didn't just like stick Andy. And it was like, this is another day in like year 5 of Andy. It was, you know.
And I can't speak.
But
for
I think you're right. I think
but,
Inside Out will have that same kind of thing, but it'll be a little bit different because it's just once you hit a certain age, like after you hit puberty or whatever like that, it'll mean something different. You'll get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to live through those
challenges. Like in
Jesse,
like during that song that explained Jesse's background in Toy Story 2, that's when it kind of hit me at least. I think that was like kind of like the turning point to realize that these aren't just, you know, childish, enjoyable movies. These are actual, you know, serious movies with serious heart. And I think that's what I'm getting to, is that there's a point in Inside Out later that I feel like would be that equivalent for today's generation.
I think I read somewhere, and I don't know if it was the director or just the writer in general of Inside Out had said that they came up with the idea because they had a daughter that was around like 10 or 11 and was starting to go through different emotions, and he was wondering what was going on through his daughter's head of like, you know, everything, and that's where the idea for Inside Out came, which I think was really smart.
Yeah, really no, absolutely. Yeah. Costa, give us your opinion.
I get to talk now?
Yes, you do.
All right. I mean,
actually, we need you to leave.
I loved the movie. I mean, it was really good. I mean, I kind of agree with Amber that and for me personally, you know, the Toy Stories, the Finding Nemos, you know, some of the earlier Pixar stuff is always going to be my favorite just because of the nostalgia and growing up with those movies. Yeah. But Inside Out, I think definitely, as you said, it hit all those right marks for a Pixar film. You know, it was emotional, it was funny, and you know, Amy Poehler, you know, if you could make Leslie Knope a Pixar character, it would be Joy. It would be Joy.
She's Joy.
You know, and
Bill
so
Hader was great too.
As Fear.
Oh my gosh, when he's watching the like.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know that was Bill Hader.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And it just, you know, like I said, the voice acting was excellent.
Yes. It had half the cast of The Office, which I was happy about.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were.
Phyllis Smith, Minnie Kaling, and
Louis Black.
He was in Office.
But he was perfect for
Anger. Yeah, if you were gonna pick anybody to play Anger, Louis Black was the guy to do it.
But continue, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I mean, I don't know really what much else to say. I think if you're a fan of Disney and Pixar, go see it in the theaters. You know, it's definitely a good movie. Take your family and stuff. And another thing I really liked about it too was that it speaks to all audiences. Yeah. This movie, absolutely. Like the message isn't a movie just for children.
Yeah.
Like I said, we all, you know, being older, we can sit there and we can understand everything that's going on in this movie. And the message is you know, it's kind of dark in a way, a little bit, but at the same time though, but it's real. Right. No, and that's what makes Pixar movies so strong. It's like they're better movies, is that they're all relatable.
Right.
You always find something in there that you can relate to.
I think this is kind of like it's very like I could see like somebody in like a psychology class showing this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
More just to show their representation of basically childhood.
Yeah.
And growing and basically. I don't know if it would be like maybe like just memories in the brain of a child to a grown up, and then you're kind of in the middle of adolescence where you're just trying to get there, because it does show things of like, you know, you're getting rid of memories, or you're getting rid of like facts and things like that, where you're like, we're not gonna remember this, just, you know, where it's like, what presidents do we have to remember? It's like just Washington, Lincoln, and the fat one. The fat one. And it's just like, and I was like, that kind of makes sense in the one part where it was like there's a whole imaginary character and things like that. Like that goes to spoiler territory, but it's like you got to get rid of some of these old memories that like it's not like you like when you're thinking about it, you're like, yeah, there's probably some memories until somebody brings it up that you've totally forgot about, and then they're like somebody mentions something, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally remember that.
And and they make the point that the memories that stick around are the ones that shape who you are. The moments in your life that construct your personality.
And that's a smart way of trying to put stuff there. It's definitely very interesting, like psychological movie.
Yes.
But in a way that's
absolutely.
easy for like kids. Kids aren't gonna get it. They're just gonna think
Right.
whatever. But like if you're looking at again like as an adult, you're like, this is a really interesting way of showing the psychology of moving from an adolescent brain to a mature brain.
I mean,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
think about it. How many
absolutely.
times were you sitting there watching this movie and, and they would, peek inside somebody's head and they would show what their mind is like. How many times you sat there and you've like, I've had those moments.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, those moments
Yeah.
either where you're the person that's kind of like zoned out and you're really not paying attention to what anybody's saying, and you're on the other end, you're like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
See, that's what I always talk about. Like,
I love that moment in the movie too, even though they
Right.
showed it in the trailer. It was
yeah.
so
Oh
funny.
no, it was still great. And see, that's why one of the reasons I list why I love like Inception. I always call that. I've been calling that my favorite film ever since I've seen it, because it's so relatable. And I found this in that same vein, that everything was just so relatable. I think that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it.
What I really liked about the movie was that it really did make you think.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
because when things were happening, you're like, oh, okay, I get why, this is happening, and then why, the whole thing with sadness was like, it's not like she's sad and depressed, but it's supposed to be like kind of like it was nostalgia, really, that it
Right.
started to turn into,
Right.
which
well,
I really
right.
liked.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
and well, I mean, the point was that they couldn't. Well, I don't know if I'll
Should
say
we-
that.
should we
first.
go into
Yeah.
spoiler
Yeah.
territory now?
But real quick, I think I'll mention this in the spoiler portion. So if we want to move forward, we
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Wilhelm. Scream for us. Scream. Okay. So we have entered spoilers. Continue watching at your own risk. So what I was getting into was that the point of the movie, like they made a good point, is that like they were putting off. Joy was trying to hide sadness, basically, and
Yeah.
say like, don't touch anything, don't touch
Right.
these
She was
memories.
touching stuff.
Yeah.
It was making a memory that then when she thought of sad,
Right.
but it realized that she wasn't like, she's like, I don't know why I'm touching things. I just was trying to help, and it just kind of happened, and they don't know
Right.
what's going on. But then when you look at the situation of what the girl's going through, is where she's moving across the country from, what was it, Nebraska?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Minnesota to
to
California.
San
California.
Francisco.
San Francisco,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you realize it's her emotions of
Right.
moving that Joy's taking over, but really she shouldn't be feeling joy. Really,
Right,
You
she
know,
should
like,
be-
she
right.
should be feeling sadness.
Right,
and
exactly.
that's what's
And-
Well,
happening.
and then the fact that they figure out that they have to coexist.
Yes.
That they
Right.
can, that
Because
she,
if you don't,
that
you're gonna have a
the
crazy
same
person.
memory
Yeah.
can be both sad
Yes.
and happy.
You're
it's-
happy all
yeah.
the time.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
all about, and it really showed at the end of the movie when everything sort of comes together, is that it's all about finding that balance in
Yes.
life, that
Yeah.
emotional balance, because when joy and sadness are finally working together, that first what do they call those orbs again? The
memories?
But which specific ones? The ones that like the important ones.
the core.
The core
memories.
memories.
Core
Thank you.
memories, yeah.
Core memories.
Like that one that came
Yeah.
out, and it was a combination of joy and sadness.
Right.
And she
And-
didn't realize it.
And she didn't realize
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Right, and then of course they jump forward more, and then you see all of the memories, and they all are like that, all these combinations of emotions,
Yeah.
and I think, and that's a really good message for just life in general.
Yeah.
It's when you're younger, you really don't have a good understanding of your emotions, and normally it's just like it's white or black when you're a
Right.
child. It's like I'm happy or I'm sad. Like you can't.
And they explained that like from the very beginning, where it was like when you're starting off with her as a child and you just have joy,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, but that was only a few seconds, because then sadness came, and then the baby's crying, and then you're like,
Right.
you had like the little small emotions that the little baby had,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, and then more of us showed up, and then you kind of have like anger, and then you just see kind of how they develop, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
was like they had all of them. As she got older, they showed
Right.
up, but then they were the core ones, and then they have to work together, and
Yeah.
it improves as she gets older, where the switchboard. And if you notice, I just realized that one of the things was they had one switchboard so that it was one emotion at a time. And then when they switched the switchboard,
The
it got
whole-
bigger. And if
yeah.
you notice, the father and the mother, they had those switchboards
Yeah.
where all of them were sitting there.
Sitting
And I
there.
just
Right.
realized that now, that it was
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
were easily able
That's
to combine
true.
both, so they could go back and forth. Where because she's
Right.
still young, you just switch from back
And
and
which
forth.
they did put in at the end, like they
Yeah,
had just
the bigger
finished
switchboard.
constructing that
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end, basically.
And which
yeah,
again now like makes sense because
Yeah.
as you get older, you're able
Does.
to control your emotions. So instead of going from one to the other, just back and forth, if you're all there together, you're able to smooth transit. Well, for some. Now we know that there's crazy people out there that just can't control their emotions either way.
They didn't get their upgraded.
They didn't get their upgraded. Or they're just too
Right,
short,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the big part near the end where basically it all came together, like you said, like where she, where they all realize. I just wanted to mention that real quick because what I was saying about explaining how Jesse's like song in Toy Story 2, like I mean I know I've already mentioned it, but I'm just gonna rehash it now that we can just dive into it just a little bit more. That was like that made you sad as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that brought you to tears as a kid.
Well, and
that's
like
when
every-
and
all
that's
of
what
them
I'm
are
saying.
like,
That's when you realized, or that at least I did, like that these movies can be taken seriously. Yes, we're watching a film about a bunch of toys, but I'm crying over a scene about a
because
toy.
there's
You know?
nostalgia to 'em all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
right. But I'm
core,
saying that's what
feelings, emotions.
that's what the ending kind of I could see like kids nowadays, like if they're about 9 years old or whatever, watching this movie. They I feel like that could like this movie was good enough. Was almost on. It was at least at Toy Story 2 good level, where like that moment in the movie could be like the turning point where they realize, like these are actual really good films.
Well,
not
at
just
what,
kid
at what
films.
point in the movie are you saying again?
Or is it when they realized that they had to
when
combine
she,
together?
When she,
Right.
when
Yeah.
she and her parents are talking right at the very end, when she,
Right.
when sadness takes over completely, and
Yeah.
and she just burst into tears. You
Yeah,
know, like,
but and I'm watching that. I was like, well, joy can't, because it's like you have to be joyful that you came back from almost running away. It's like it did make sense, but I thought it was also really powerful that you see Joy is like trying to be positive and happy, but there's
Right.
that one point where she breaks down.
Yeah.
Like, and then I thought that was a more powerful scene because because it's kind of like a build up. Like you knew like once they got there, like the little girl had to break down to explain to her parents what she's feeling. But I think it was more like emotional and important that you saw actually Joy break down, because then when she actually realized when she was looking at all these memories and stuff that were getting thrown, or they turned blue, or they turned sad.
And I would agree. I would agree.
Because I didn't realize like the emotion had to, Joy had to break down.
Well,
thought
right.
she
I
was
mean, it's
always
that moment
happy.
when Joy realizes you can't always be happy.
Yeah, and she like broke down. I was like, can they do that? I thought she's just
Right.
You
well,
know.
well, and that's fair, and I that was a powerful moment as
I think
well.
it's a powerful
but
moment for just
I
like the
think,
tipping point in the movie.
Well,
for
and I
that
think the only
character.
reason I didn't view that as like, even though it obviously it was the big turning point for the character and all that, the only reason I didn't think that was as big of a emotional hit as the later or the latter, whatever you want to call it. But it's just because I was expecting that, because it was about that point in the movie that
Well, I was like where you're saying
that it gets
with
to that point.
with the daughter breaking down. I was expecting that too, because that's what she needed to do. Because
Well,
she
that's fine.
But
you know.
but I was expecting
Yeah.
that. I was just like, well, she's gonna have to.
Okay.
Sadness is gonna have to come in because she has to express herself, and for all the other emotions, like the only one that is gonna work for her parents to understand anyway, and also how she's technically feeling. Most out of everything is sadness. Plus, sadness was touching everying.
Well, but
She's
then
just touching
and then
everything
not only the part when she did start breaking down, but then after like she, she started breaking down and all that, and then Joy like slightly. Presses a button and you see her smile.
Because she got happy was
right,
whenever,
exactly.
yeah.
That I'm so like just little moments like that. That was especially killer.
Yeah, well, I liked where
Like, that just
where
sliced right through
like
me.
after there where you saw like then it with the little marble balls. I like to call them marble balls. The marble memories like then started mixing, and not
Right,
just
yeah.
sadness and joy, but like you
Like
saw like
fear and anger.
and then like what was she, jealousy? Was that what she was?
No, it was
or envy?
disgust.
Disgust, yeah.
Which was kind of weird. I just was like
Perfect role
well,
for
I
Minnie
feel like
Killer.
it was just going to turn into later as she gets older the bitch. She's just like where it's just like this is just gonna be like bitch mode when she's going to like.
She's gonna be the one to push the puberty button, like is.
She almost touched it. I was like,
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
I
She
was like,
was.
well, that's gonna make sense.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's like whatever she's supposed to be. I was like, disgust. I was like, no, that's gonna be bitch mode. eventually is what she's gonna mature into. But I thought it was funny.
No, yeah.
I also absolutely loved the like imaginary boyfriend guy.
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
know
God.
why. I just thought it was so funny. And then also he's like, "Oh, dive, Riley," and his hair.
Well, I love the one real quick quip that he makes, like, I'm from Canada.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
like
He's
that
like,
was it. That
"Where
was
did
the
you
only
come
like
from?" He's like,
dig.
"I'm from Canada."
That was like the only like notifiable dig at like they're taking like a shot at Justin Bieber or something. But that was it. It was so
And
like
his hair
small
was like,
and
he's
little.
like
Yeah.
his hair. I just thought
Yeah.
that was so funny. He's like, "Oh, dive, Riley."
Right.
He had like this like Keanu Reeves.
Well, and also
accent, but-
another little thing, I couldn't help but laugh at the fact, especially at the end when they expanded the board, and then Anger's like, now I know like all the curses.
Oh, yeah, that
the
was
curse
great.
words.
Like
Yeah.
how often do you remember like when you were a little kid and you were like
Yeah.
and all the times
He's
you're
like,
like,
"I know that
word.
one that I'm gonna say."
I know that one
Yeah.
bad word.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
well, and even you kind of already mentioned it a little bit, but right near the end when she bumps into the little boy who's like her age as well,
Oh, the
and
guy,
his
yeah.
and his mind is just like
That was
going like
they're like freaking
"Ah,
out, like
ah!"
and like Fear's like in the corner going like this Fear was like girl,
Exactly.
girl.
Like
looking at
how true was that, for like a lot of, boys that age,
I was like laughing. I thought that was funny. I like the cats and I like the dogs. I like the last like what was it like 4 or 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. It was
where
like a
they
montage
Yeah,
at
it was
the
a
end, yeah.
montage of like the different characters that you kind of saw in the background, and then it
Yeah.
goes into it. And I thought that was.
I
The
also
recurring jokes
the
during
the-
the
Yeah.
recurring
Yeah.
jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the name of the Brazilian?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know,
Did
but
they-
he
God.
that was
he was
pretty
just
funny.
a Brazilian gym teacher.
That and like the triple mint gum.
Oh my God,
that was
that was the best
That
part.
was so funny because that's so true, and
It
I thought it was
is.
so creative how they do it, where like you have a jingle or something that's stuck in your head, and then all of a
And
sudden
it-
it pops into your
Yeah,
head
but see,
for a reason.
and to the point that it never quite goes away.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always there.
And you'll remember it forever.
Well,
and
well,
I loved like
yeah.
the little jelly bean memory worker people.
Yes.
That were,
Yeah.
like, we just
I
send it
I
up
was
there
just about to
whenever,
say
yeah.
that. Yes, that was the best part. Was
Yeah.
that we just like to randomly send it from time to time.
Like, this is the
Anger.
best one.
And anger. How many times like do you get anger? It's like I can't get the song out of my head. Oh my God!
That was,
Stop it!
That was a great like continuous joke.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. Is that the humor was just continuous
Yeah.
and nonstop. Like every Pixar film has been funny, you know,
Yeah.
but none of them have like really had that same exact pace. I mean, maybe it's depending on how the script goes, how the story is, but like it just seemed like it was nonstop from the beginning.
I think all their like, especially all the jokes that they wrote, like none of them like failed. Like all of them
Yeah.
were like on point, and it's
Exactly.
not, and it's something where like if I were to watch it again, it's not gonna be like, oh, it's whatever. Like,
Right, you would
like,
laugh at
I
it
would laugh
again.
again because like
Yeah.
how it was delivered and everything was funny, and I'm glad that they like for all the voice actors that they're all comedians.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't like, oh, we're just gonna get whoever for whatever. I mean, they got Diane Lane for just the mom, which was perfect. But like all the main emotions, like I like that they were all comedians
Yeah,
that were able to do
absolutely.
it. I
'Cause-
mean, and Bill
yeah.
Hader is like perfect because he's got a great voice thing, but he
Yeah.
just like kept it, and it was like
Well, see,
yeah.
and that's why I loved Phyllis Smith being Sadness.
Yeah,
'Cause
she's, like,
because if
literally
you were an
perfect.
Office fan like me and you just keep thinking of Phyllis from The Office, and you're just thinking
She
that is
had,
such a
she
perfect
like had
fit.
the perfect voice.
Yep.
She did,
And
absolutely.
even though we said, like I said, like Mindy Kaling, I didn't even her voice sounded different.
Different, it
But I
did.
think,
And-
but I just said like when
right.
she's on The Office, she
Right.
kind of talks like a Valley girl, you know, like which
Yeah.
is like. But I think it just might, and at first I'm like, I know this is her, but it doesn't sound.
Well,
like her.
and we talked about that leaving the theater. It was also the same case because she was in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah,
She
and you
played
told
like
me
the
that.
competitive
Yeah.
rival.
But you know what?
And,
I
I
noticed
thought the same
that.
thing.
I
like,
noticed that in I noticed her in
okay.
Wreck-It Ralph because I
Really?
think she had that same like.
See, and that was the
thing.
case that I didn't know that was her until like I looked it up on like IMDb
Yeah,
afterwards, or at some point I came across like, wait, she was in Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I think
and then,
I
like,
recognized her voice in Wreck-It
Yeah.
Ralph because I think she had like she sounded, you know, but I don't know why. But it just maybe it was she was doing something, or this is how she actually talks. But I'm always used to her from The Office, kind of having that like
oh yeah,
like
that like
I-
peppy girl, like
peppy,
sort of like
yeah, like a Valley girl,
like the
yeah.
the fast talking,
Yeah,
like-
and maybe it's just like that. I
Yeah.
was just so used to her character that I associated with her talk, but that's not how she is. But I
Right,
still
yeah.
liked her character. I thought her character
yeah.
was hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The whole cast was on point. Like I said, it's not in my top pillar of Pixar films, but it's like it's right there. Just because the idea was so creative, they executed it so well. And like the one thing about humor, and we've mentioned it already, but is like if you can recurring jokes, you know, in a film, that really like determines how good your film is going to be. If you have really, because that means you had good humor to begin with, that you could go back to it and
Yeah.
it didn't get old.
Yeah.
Like they, you know, the recurring jokes they brought back, like you laughed when they came back because you were just like, that was
cloud
perfect.
joke, like
Oh,
it was
yeah,
all
they-
paste. that cloud joke set up with like the.
I think, is it a goal of like any like animated movie like the writer to always throw in a joke that parents would understand but the kids won't understand
I
until
mean,
years
those are all the
later?
movies. Every single movie, there's stuff
Yeah.
that that's
Right.
why I think parents enjoy taking kids to like Pixar movies
Right.
because it's not just for kids, but
Yeah.
there's stuff in there now that
Yeah.
adults
Well,
can just go
right,
and see it. If
right.
They want
Well,
to.
and exactly like one of the reasons I love Toy Story 3 is that like it's not just, you know, here's our characters again doing hijinks. Like it gets into like some
There's a
deep
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's some like
Yeah.
some deep like immortality and mortality issues in it and
Yeah.
all that, especially in the third one.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, a little bit in
definitely.
the second one as
Yeah.
well. But exactly, like all those things you wouldn't really think of as a kid, you know, as
Well, I
a
think
parent,
for-
you're just
for- yeah,
or as
for
an
parents,
adult,
though,
or not
I think,
a parent, but
I
as
think
an
they
adult,
take things
yeah.
that are kind of universal for all kids.
Yeah.
So like when parents go to see it, even though their kids will like it, it's nostalgia. Even if it's like say Cars, it's just like some guys
Yeah.
remember growing up with the love of Cars and they wish they had this movie,
Yeah.
so they're taking their kid to it so they can enjoy it. You know, even though I don't like Cars, but anyway. I'm just like Disney World. They play that damn song over and over again that I hate the movie so much that I don't want to. But anyway,
I haven't even seen either
Don't.
Cars movie. And that's one of the
anyway,
few Pixar concepts
that
I've
doesn't
never cared
exist.
about.
Anyway, but still, like there's nostalgia to them even
Yeah.
when they're. It's just maybe the writing and because I think like the people that they get to make these movies are probably the kids at heart, but they're very smart
Mm-hmm.
at it. Like this movie was really smart of just like the whole concept of
Mm-hmm.
psychology and everything like that with people growing up and young
Yeah.
kids that.
But I think,
No, it's fair.
but when you talk about, but when we're talking about inside, you can't help but look back and talk about what
the
with
other
all the other
Well,
movies.
and I
Used
think
to it.
the thing is that the reason we feel like we have to do this because we've grown up with this company basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ever since we were 5 years old, you know, like we've been following this company, you know. So I think that's why is that those milestones stay in our heads, you know, and
Absolutely.
So it's absolutely fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so.
And,
yeah.
and I mean, so far the competition, like when we were talking about, like
That's what I was trying to mention earlier. So
the
like
awards.
DreamWorks, don't even try to make something.
Well, I don't
this
know. I
year.
mean, the only
you're
thing
you're not gonna win.
so far, like what we know is this
Yeah.
movie, and then the Minions movie is supposed to come out, and then the Good Dinosaur, and I don't know if there's anything else that's come out.
Well,
this
they
year.
did-
basically,
and then there'll be
Pixar-
like an I don't know. Does Miyazaki have a movie coming out? Wasn't Miyazaki supposed to have?
I have no idea. Good question.
Because if
it may
Miyazaki
have-
has the last movie coming out, then people might just go and vote for that. 'Cause it'll just be his last movie.
Nah. If
Miyazaki's the
not with-
Japanese
Yeah.
Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And if
but
he
not
retires,
with Pixar in the running though.
Well, didn't Spirited Away be out a Pixar movie?
Which one
well-
though? You have to wonder which one.
Spirited Away.
No, I mean which Pixar movie would it have beaten
Oh,
out?
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Like,
No,
Like,
well,
Like
no,
not everyone
no, but I'm
has
saying,
won them,
but
like,
Right.
but come on, think about this. Think of the scope of Pixar films, the ones that won awards, you know, versus the ones that didn't. Inside Out, I think, would fit the bill of one that is probably predestined to win the award.
Well, we
Well,
haven't
yeah.
seen
Brave
Good
won the
Dinosaur.
award, and it didn't deserve to win.
What was it against, though?
It was Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh.
Exactly.
Well, I haven't seen Brave.
Well, it's
Yeah.
okay. Brave was not one of Pixar's better efforts, but it still won the Oscar.
I kind of feel like Brave was like something that maybe Disney forced them into because it just sort of
'Cause
gave
they
them
were trying
another
to make
princess.
like another fantasy.
Another-
I mean, it wasn't a fairy tale, but it was.
Right,
trying-
but,
Well,
but
and they were
it gave them another princess in their arsenal.
Well, and
so
they
to
were
speak.
they were trying to go like a little bit slightly more like adult humor, not a whole lot, but like they did try to make it like a darker tone, not so much a kids film.
Like a twist on the fairy tales, like Once Upon a
That's
Time.
Oh God.
Oh.
we're just gonna get into a whole nother tyrant, aren't we?
Yeah, there'll be another thing for that.
Yeah,
later.
exactly.
That's our movie challenge.
Hey, that might be a tease for another video series.
Yeah, Amber and I will be talking.
Hey, and she also has arrows.
Oh. Are they green?
I don't know. I've never seen.
Her dress is green.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It was blue.
That was green.
No, it was green.
She's in the woods, and the woods are green.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's her island.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, for future bonus episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
People will be like, "What does that have to do with anything?"
That's what we call a tease.
I don't think we did a very good job. I think we're pretty blatant.
We're pretty blatant out at this point.
We're
But
horrible
you know what?
at
We
this.
tried. We gave it a good effort. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I think that's it. We've covered everything about. It's
nice Pixar conversation as well.
Oh yeah,
which I think is
absolutely.
relevant.
I kind of feel like we're gonna end up having this conversation every time we review a Pixar film.
Well, next, I mean, we're gonna go see Minions, and that's June.
That's July.
That's July, but what's the company for
DreamWorks?
Minions?
No, is it DreamWorks? I thought it was was it Illumination or whatever they're called.
I thought it was another.
DreamWorks has Kung Fu Panda 3.
Oh.
That's their next movie.
I'm excited for Minions. I mean, they showed the trailer again. I was like, I really want to see this movie.
It looks fun.
It looks better than Despicable Me 1 and 2.
Yes.
Well, I mean, but you watched
Despicable
Me for the Minions though. Like you didn't
exactly.
realize that when you
watched it, and then you watched and you're like, I'm watching it for these little yellow things.
Exactly.
And that's why you went to go see this. I haven't seen the sequel. I've only seen the first one, but
yeah, same here.
But Minions looks hilarious. But we'll be seeing Ted 2 next week.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's gonna be
we get 2 comedies in a row.
Two very different.
Very different comedies.
Yeah.
Yes, but
couldn't be more opposite from one another.
But so I am so thankful that we actually had a podcast where, in general, we were all in agreement.
It was a good movie.
It was so relaxing this time. I could just sit back and chill, like, yeah.
I hope that this is your reaction when Ant-Man comes.
No. And that's where we'll end it. So why do we have to end everything with Ant-Man? Anyway. I was happy with this podcast.
The angry guy shows up.
I was happy with this podcast. And then Amber just flipped on the anger switch in my brain. So anyway, go see Inside Out. It was a lot of fun. Yes. So, and it's been a lot of fun talking about it with you guys. So, despite you bringing up Ant-Man. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed watching our review. If you want to check out our other episodes, our other movie reviews, you can go to our YouTube. It's Movie.Cast. And yeah, we'll have our links for Facebook and Twitter up there. You can talk to us, interact with us, let us know what you thought of Inside Out. I think it's my favorite film of this year so far, maybe besides Kingsman. I forgot to say that during the review, but I did mean to say that. I think that this has been, besides Kingsman, one of my most enjoyable films to watch this year. So, yeah. Anyway, so if you want to disagree, agree with us, find us on all the social media stuff like that. Please like if you do like our video, and subscribe so you can keep up to date with all of our content. And like I said, thank you guys for joining, and thank you all for joining. Hope you have a great day, and join us in for next time.
See ya.